Welcome to Reality Talk America. So if you never heard of Donald Trump faith advisor before, this one of Donald Trump's most outspoken religious allies just found themselves at the center of controversy after comments tied to King Charles sparked backlash and international criticism. The problem is not just the insult itself, it is the pattern of inflammatory rhetoric, political loyalty, being treated like moral authority, and public figures using faith as cover for behavior that creates division instead of leadership. Critics say this kind of messaging damages credibility, fuels outrage, and turns serious institutions into culture war battlegrounds. They argue respect, accountability, and honesty matter, especially when speaking on global figures and sensitive issues. And in this clip, they finally get their comeuppance when a British host pushes back hard, challenges the claims directly, and refuses to let the talking points slide without scrutiny. As usual, let's watch the clip in full. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts towards the end.
Again, it's already clear that, and I don't think the UK is great. Again, I think the people are great of the UK, but I think you're going into a very dangerous direction. And I think many in America believe that. But the reality of it is, UK has always been our greatest and oldest ally. And it is important that, we share so many of the same messaging. Naturally, your prime minister and even your king have done some things that has been very challenging to us Americans in regards to the direction that you're taking your country. But the reality of it is, this was a good day to continue to build upon our previous strong relationships. And yes, some of the things the king said, I believe, were unnecessary. And that he really needs to, again, stick to kissing babies and also being the head of the Christian church. I remind him.
I'm sorry. Don't be so insulting to the king. He made a very, very thoughtful speech there with some important messages, particularly around our collective security. And you resort to an insult about he should stick to kissing babies. Grow up.
I think you confused my statement, and I'm sorry you may be a little slow in what I'm saying. I'll speak slower so you can understand, because what I said was not an insult at all. I think, again, I made it very clear that this was a great day for Great Britain and for the United States. I think this was a beautiful thing. It's an honor that His Majesty took time out of his schedule to come to the United States of America. It's a beautiful thing, and I think that this is the kind of the unity that we need to continue to build on. There are some policies that you are having in your country that is challenging to us conservatives here in America, but that's neither here nor there. Again, so I'm sorry you must have misunderstood what I said as an insult. It wasn't an insult. He is still the head of the Christian church in the UK. He is the head of the Church of England. And to many Christians in the UK are challenged or disturbed that his actions have seemed to be belittled the Christian faith while promoting other faiths, while he is still yet the head of the Christian church. But it's an honor that he came to the United States.
Sorry, he spent a substantial section of his speech reaffirming his Christian faith and explaining why it's important not just to him, but to our country, to your country. I'm not quite following you about how he's sort of tried to undermine it.
Well, again, I'm not speaking specific to the speech. I think the outcry of American Christians and the outcry of the UK Christians previously has caused His Majesty to echo his strong sentiments of the Christian faith. And that's a beautiful thing. That's what we wanted to see. That's what we want to hear. Again, that is more so for the Christians in the United Kingdom. Who felt very strongly that their king, the head of the Church of England, has diverted from, promoting the Christian faith in the UK. But again, I think it was a beautiful thing. I think to see all of the great supporters who were there to support His Majesty, the King, what an honor. I do hope to get to meet him myself, especially when I come back to London. And so to be able to continue to preach prosperity and unity amongst our two countries. But again, there are some challenges that's still there, especially with your prime minister, but hopefully we can get them worked out.
Well, I'm no fan of our Prime Minister, but the insults that Donald Trump has doled out to him ever since the attacks on Iran have been utterly despicable, not the sort of thing that you would expect from the head of one state to the Prime Minister of another. And then 3 days before this visit takes place, we have administration officials, apparently with the endorsement of the White House, saying that President Trump is calling into question UK sovereignty over the Falkland Islands. And you think, well, on what planet is that an appropriate thing to do 3 days before the King of the Falkland Islands visits this country?
Well, I think the real question should be asked is what planet do you live on to where the United States' greatest ally, the UK, refused to support the United States of America's positioning to open up the Strait of Hormuz and to support UK. It is you who need the oil, not the United States of America. It is you who need to make sure that that strait is open. But yet we are risking our soldiers. We are helping the millions upon millions of Iranians who are thanking President Trump for coming to their rescue and removing that evil regime. Even right now, and I spoke to the president a couple of days ago about Iran, and even now, the very fact that their leadership is all in chaos just shows once again why it was good that Donald Trump, President Trump, acted upon that. So it's challenging when the UK refused to send naval support. It's challenging, and again, what planet you living on when our greatest ally refused to help us when we needed them. But yet, trust me, when it comes time for the UK to need us, the United States of America will be there.
The fact is that Britain has come to America's aid on many occasions in the past. President Trump didn't even seem to know that we did after 9/11 on Afghanistan. It is for sovereign nations, whether it's Britain, Germany, France, any nation, to decide whether they are going to take part in military action. Now, I happen to disagree with our government stance on this, but I fully respect our elected government's right to make that decision. And
sure.
I mean, as you well know, there have been occasions when America has done things which haven't been to the advantage of our country. But these alliances, they are formed over decades, not temporary sort of years, and they have to endure if our collective security is to endure. But that doesn't mean to say that when Donald Trump says jump, we just say how high. International relations don't work like that.
Well, you're speaking about the Trump deranged syndrome that you clearly have, and many of those in the UK have. We're not talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about the government of the United States of America. President Trump is the elected commander-in-chief. But the government of the United States of America.
Absolutely, I fully recognize that.
So you're talking about Donald Trump, and you're talking about his personality. You never met the man, but you're talking about his personality.
I haven't mentioned his personality.
Then he says how high. That's a Trump deranged syndrome mentality. We're talking about the security of our two great nations, and the reality of it is, you are part of NATO, and so when the United States, who is a member of NATO, needs or requesting help, you should in return.
An organization which President Trump consistently undermines.
At the hands of the evil regime. And thanks to President Trump, they are now in a leadership situation to where things are falling apart internally in their own nation. And that gives an opportunity for democracy.
Welcome back to Reality Talk America. Today we are looking at a political media clash that has been gaining attention because it combines politics, religion, public image, and international relationships, all into one heated exchange. The story centers around a British television host going head-to-head with a faith advisor connected to Donald Trump after controversial remarks involving King Charles created backlash and opened up a larger conversation about respect, leadership, and how political voices operate in modern media. One thing that keeps happening in politics today is that people connected to powerful figures often become influential public voices themselves. Even if they do not hold elected office, they shape narratives, influence supporters, and contribute to public conversations that reach millions of people. Faith advisors especially occupy an unusual space because they are often viewed differently than political strategists or campaign operatives. They carry religious credibility for many supporters, which means their words can carry extra weight. Beyond politics, that becomes important when controversial statements enter the picture. Because people expect certain standards from religious figures, they expect restraint, wisdom, accountability, and careful language, especially when discussing major public figures or institutions. King Charles represents more than just an individual person. He represents centuries of history, tradition, diplomacy, and symbolic leadership connected to the British monarchy. Whether someone personally supports monarchy or opposes it completely, there is no denying that the position carries global recognition and international visibility. When comments directed toward figures like King Charles become insulting, inflammatory, or politically charged, reactions tend to move quickly, because people interpret those statements in different ways. Some people see blunt criticism as honesty. Others see it as unnecessary provocation. Others see it as political theater, designed to generate headlines, attention, and engagement. That larger environment matters because media incentives today reward conflict. The louder the controversy becomes, the more attention it receives, the stronger the disagreement becomes, the faster clips spread across social media. Political commentators know this, media personalities know this, television networks know this. Outrage has become one of the most powerful currencies in modern media. That brings us to the British host involved in this exchange. British interview culture often operates differently from American political television. British broadcasters frequently push harder, interrupt more aggressively, and directly challenge guests when claims appear inconsistent, exaggerated, or unsupported. For audiences unfamiliar with that style, it can appear confrontational. For others, it looks like accountability journalism. When public figures enter those interviews without preparation, the results can become uncomfortable quickly. A major reason interviews break down is because public representatives sometimes rely heavily on talking points. Talking points work when audiences already agree with you. They work less effectively when an interviewer refuses to move on and keeps pressing deeper. The moment an interviewer asks follow-up questions, clarification questions, or evidence-based challenges, prepared messaging can begin falling apart. That appears to be what drew attention here. Observers focused less on the original controversy and more on how the exchange unfolded under pressure. Could the statements be defended? Could the reasoning survive scrutiny? Could emotional rhetoric hold up when challenged directly? Those moments often reveal something bigger than one isolated disagreement. They reveal communication strategies, they reveal media training. They reveal whether someone can defend a position beyond slogans and emotional appeals. Modern political media increasingly rewards confidence over accuracy. People speak with certainty, even when discussing complicated issues. Strong delivery can sometimes persuade audiences, even when evidence remains weak. That creates a difficult environment for viewers because confidence and credibility are not automatically the same thing. Someone can sound completely certain while still presenting incomplete information. Political polarization adds another layer to this conversation. Supporters often interpret the exact same exchange differently. One side watches an interview and sees someone getting exposed. The other side watches the same clip and sees unfair treatment. The facts may remain identical while interpretations become completely different. That reality explains why media battles now matter so much politically. These moments are no longer just television interviews. They become content, they become viral clips, they become political identity markers. People share moments that reinforce beliefs they already hold. Algorithms reward outrage, emotion, conflict, and certainty. Nuance rarely goes viral. Complexity struggles to compete against emotional certainty. Faith figures entering political spaces face particularly difficult expectations. Religious leadership traditionally emphasizes humility, reflection, and moral responsibility. Politics often rewards aggression, certainty, and confrontation. Balancing those worlds becomes difficult when religious authority becomes deeply tied to political identity. Critics worry that faith itself risks becoming politicized. Supporters argue values belong in politics. Critics argue politics can distort values. That tension has existed for generations, but social media amplifies everything. A controversial statement that once might have disappeared after a television segment can now circulate globally within minutes. A difficult interview moment can become millions of views overnight. Public figures increasingly operate inside a permanent reaction cycle. Every statement creates analysis, every interview creates commentary, every controversy creates content. Another important piece involves international perception. Comments involving figures connected to other countries can affect broader conversations about diplomacy, image, and cultural respect. Political allies abroad pay attention. Media organizations abroad pay attention. Global audiences pay attention. Communication mistakes do not remain local anymore. Everything becomes international immediately. Critics of inflammatory rhetoric argue that outrage-driven communication damages public trust over time. They argue constant escalation makes meaningful conversation harder. Supporters often counter that blunt language breaks through political spin and challenges establishment, thinking that disagreement sits at the center of modern political media. Should public voices prioritize diplomacy? Should they prioritize blunt honesty? Should they balance both? People answer those questions differently depending on values, political views, and media preferences. But what moments like this reveal clearly is that communication matters. Words matter. Public influence matters. The larger someone becomes publicly, the greater responsibility comes with that influence. Whether someone agrees with Donald Trump, completely disagrees with him, or falls somewhere in the middle, people connected to powerful political movements face enormous scrutiny. Every appearance matters, every statement matters, every controversy matters. And when those moments collide with aggressive interviews, experienced hosts, and international attention, the result can become major political media theater. That is exactly why exchanges like this spread so quickly. People are not only reacting to who said what, they are reacting to power, influence, accountability, and the larger political environment surrounding the conversation. As media becomes increasingly personality-driven, moments like these will likely continue happening. Political voices will keep colliding, interviews will keep becoming battlegrounds, clips will keep going viral. And audiences will continue deciding for themselves who won, who lost, and what it all says about the state of politics, media, and public discourse today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Did the British host expose weak arguments? Did the faith advisor receive unfair treatment, or does this entire controversy reveal bigger problems with how political media works today? If you enjoyed this analysis, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because we will keep breaking down the biggest political stories shaping conversations across America and beyond. Thanks for watching Reality Talk America, and I will see you in the next one.